Silicon Valley, technology, art, green, and sustainability. Welcome to Silicon Valley Technology, Art, Green, and Sustainability. Today I have one of the leaders in Silicon Valley in the environmental movement, Marianna Grossman with Sustainable Silicon Valley. Thank you for joining us. And
delighted to be here. Thank you.
Please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what your company does.
Well, I am a California native, and I'm the Executive Director of Sustainable Silicon Valley, which is a consortium of businesses, local governments, and nonprofit organizations that are working together to make Silicon Valley a sustainable community and have a prosperous economy and a healthy environment.
And it's been around for a while then, a couple years? Or?
Mm-hmm. We were organized first in about 2000, 2001, and got incorporated in 2004. So we've been operating as a separate organization since 2004.
Oh wow, so 2004 became incorporated.
Right.
But it's actually been around since 2001.
That's
didn't know
right.
It was around that long.
We're almost at our 10th anniversary, and we started as a project of the California EPA and the Silicon Valley Leadership Group and the Water District and a few other organizations. And now we have over 100 partners. And our partners pledged to measure and reduce their energy use. And also this year we're adding an intensive focus on water as well.
And tell us how long you've been working in this industry.
Well, I've been the executive director just for about 3 months, but I've been working in this industry for probably several decades. And wow. I started actually in high school working in forest ecology at UC. I got a scholarship to go one summer to work in the entomology department up in the forest in UC, up in the Sierra Mountains, which was really a lot of fun. And then when I went to college, I had the great fortune to study with Dana Meadows and Dennis Meadows, who wrote a book called The Limits to Growth. And that book was published in '72. And I was a student with them in the later '70s. And I studied environmental studies and policy studies. And I was especially interested in how do you make social change based on a positive vision of the future.
And you grew up in the Bay Area, you said?
I did. I was born in San Francisco and I grew up in Berkeley. And I went back east to school, which was quite a contrast.
From Berkeley, yeah.
From Berkeley.
Which Berkeley has definitely been a mover and shaker in the green for decades, right?
Yeah, I was propagating native trees and as a high school student doing things like that. So there was, and there were people doing recycling and a lot of efforts like that back then. And now Berkeley, of course, is continuing to be a leader in many ways with a on-bill financing for solar, which is being copied throughout the state and also probably throughout the country. So it's actually a really interesting innovation that's
what
coming on board.
Got you started in this and is actually your long history with Berkeley then, and not just schooling.
Well, I wouldn't just say Berkeley, but and I went to Berkeley High. I didn't go to college there, but it was really growing up in a family that loved nature and then learning about the idea that you can't have exponential growth in a finite system, which is really the premise of that book, Limits to Growth. So if you look at the Earth and you say you're going to grow population and pollution and resource use exponentially, and you have one little ball of planet to do that from, you end up with something called overshoot and collapse. For example, if anybody's been trying to get local salmon lately, you'll find out that that's, the salmon population has pretty much disappeared. And that's an example of a system that's overburdened and overshoots and collapses. So they were warning 3 decades ago that we needed to address climate change and other environmental problems. And people were just so committed to doing things as business as usual that I don't think we've really responded in the kind of speed we need to respond.
There was a gentleman at West Coast Green, and I want to say Kawasaki was his.
Guy Kawasaki?
I
know who you mean.
And he was
from
talking
Canada.
about the fishing industry and just that, and the ripple effect of the logging, and the bears coming and taking the fish, and the wolves, and the nutrients spread all over the forest from the fish runs, and how the fish runs have really diminished. because of the waters being dammed, and then
Right.
the whole other things around the ecology
Right.
of that, which is just really interesting. And of course, in the redwoods here in Redwood Estate, and there was a big feud over that a few years ago about the logging, and I think they were able to back them down. So that's really what got you started then, is your first career working with the gentleman that wrote that book then, down this path?
Yes, and it was actually a husband and wife team, and Dana, Danella Meadows was my main mentor, and Dennis Meadows just won the Japan Prize last year. Dana Meadows unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago.
Tell the audience what the Japan Prize.
The Japan Prize is comparable to a Nobel Prize for the environment, and it's recognizing really significant international contribution toward moving forward in a positive direction for the environment.
Interesting. What has been your biggest challenge with sustainable Silicon Valley at this point?
Well, I think the biggest challenge right now, and it's also a tremendous opportunity, is that we're in a state of economic crisis. And sometimes I call it an economic collapse. That may be too catastrophic, but we're in an economic catastrophe. I think that's fair to say. And that means that a lot of our partners are very preoccupied with just surviving. So it's more of a challenge to get them to think about making investments for reducing energy use and water use, and thinking about how to make their products green. We are finding that there are a number of really forward-looking corporations that are adding sustainability as a strategic element, where they're adding products and services to enable their customers and the whole supply chain to be more green as a way of increasing revenue. So it's not just making your operations more efficient, which is really important, but it's also how do you find new markets and new products. And the economic stimulus package is really helpful in that respect, because it's driving a lot of funds to do energy efficiency and breakthrough research in, not just research, but actually application of ready technologies for renewable energy, for smart grid, for water efficiency, many projects that are very green. In electric vehicles is another example.
So we'll go back to the stimulus package in a minute. So the EPA was one of the founders for your company, along with the leadership group, the Silicon Valley Leadership Group. So you were talking about it's difficult in this time because a lot of the companies are just trying to make ends meet, which we probably all know about that in this economy. Is the EPA helping this organization out as far as keeping it financially going? Are they giving grants to you guys, or how did that work?
I actually don't know the early funding history. Right now, we've just completed a major grant with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District to develop a training program for small and medium-sized businesses on energy efficiency, which is we're working on now a next stage of rolling that out and to be able to reach a very dispersed population. And we have had grants from other entities, but not from the EPA per se.
And so I saw on your website, I just retook a look at it a couple days ago, but energy is a big part of it. Of course, the CO2 emission and helping businesses and nonprofits and other people in the Valley help with that. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and how you guys are working with that platform?
That one of the founding premises of our organization was an idea of doing an environmental management system. And I actually have a background in total quality management, which is kind of a sister set of philosophies and tools. And the idea is you understand the nature of the system that you're working in. So you measure how much energy are you using, and then you set targets for reducing it, and then you measure how you're doing. And that measurement creates a couple of things. First of all, it makes you aware of waste that might be in the system that you would otherwise be unaware of. And second, it just helps focus attention and create a sense of accountability. So that's something that really distinguishes us from any of the other environmental organizations in Silicon Valley, that we really work with our partners to help them measure and report and improve in a very tangible way.
And of course, the USGBC, you're going to be working with them, of course, because part of what they do is measure energy efficiency and all the environmental aspects of redoing a building or building a building.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's really helpful about a system like Leadership for Environmental and Energy Design, LEED, is, and also the Green Points rating system, which is a kind of complementary system for the residential sector. The advantages of having a system like that is then you have a nice checklist, and it and it tells you kind of where to look for opportunities.